Hi, everybody. This is Ashley Cain with Cain Nonprofit Solutions, and we are about to get started on our second episode of Program Notes, where I talk to professionals in arts and culture nonprofits from across the U.S. doing great work and talk about issues that are facing you. So for the second episode, we are going to be talking to Jill Jantzen of Salon 21 in Cincinnati, Ohio, my hometown. Jill is amazing. We are going to jump right into it. First and foremost, though, big thank you to Jill for doing this interview. I think it's going to be a really, really good one. And we are going to talk about how much of a challenge it can be for arts and culture organizations like ours to program traditional art forms and traditional repertoire without that being boring for modern audiences. So hopefully this will be a good one for you. We're going to jump right in. Jill, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I am by profession a pianist, so I do a lot of freelancing, and I have a college job at a little university, and I also have a private studio of piano students, and I am the artistic director of Salon 21 Petite Piano Concert.
That's wonderful. So how long have you actually been involved in music?
Oh gosh, I have been playing piano since the age of 5, right? So it's been a very lifelong enjoyment and passion for me. I went to grad school. Music took me up all the way through grad school. That's why I wound up in Cincinnati, not originally from here. And I realized that there's such a force of nonprofit work around Cincinnati, and I learned a lot. I was involved with I had a development internship with a really reputable organization. I took a couple of arts administration classes while I was in grad school at the University of Cincinnati, College Conservatory of Music, and now I kind of have paired my professional background and training as a pianist with these off-the-cuff arts administration things that I've learned and kind of pair them together to have a very broad musical life, we'll just say.
Oh, I get that. I'm not a pianist, I'm a trumpet player, but you and I have very similar backgrounds in that respect. So it's nice to kind of see how people kind of start out in music and how that parlays into the nonprofit and arts admin world. I'm always interested. But so far it seems to be a pretty similar trajectory for most of us. So what kind of music does Salon 21 present? Like, what is a typical Salon 21 concert like?
Salon 21 is based in the tradition of salon concerts. So intimate concerts that allow the audience to really be immersed in the performance experience. So it breaks down the barrier between performer and audience members. Typically, our concerts are classical, piano specific, but piano is such a diverse, multifaceted instrument. So we have anything from classical to jazz, very traditional classical concerts, all the way to really experimental concerts with video involvement or electronic. So there's a lot of aspects that we really get to present because piano is so multifaceted and runs the gamut.
Yeah, you're probably lucky in that respect. It's such a versatile instrument to do so much with. And I feel like in some ways it's kind of more accessible to the general populace than, an instrument like trumpet can be, because I don't know, I guess people think we're dorks. but piano is a little more mainstream, so you might be luckier in that respect in some ways anyway.
Yeah, and I think our audience at Salon 21 really picks up on that because we've had many conversations with our patrons, and so many of them comment on how much variety our series presents. We only have 6 concerts in a year from October through May, but we have everything. And people really enjoy that. It's definitely a plus for us.
That's so good to hear. I'm going to read this next question because it was a little longer and I don't want to mess it up. So pardon me while I look down for a second. Most of the time when you present piano or chamber works, you're talking about presenting a very traditional art form with a very traditional set of repertoire. Some audiences really love that, as we know, and they're always going to attend that because that's what they want to see. But research shows us that some audiences, particularly younger audiences, tend to shy away from coming to concerts in general, and definitely from so-called traditional concerts, which they sometimes perceive as boring. Are you seeing this challenge in your work with Salon 21? And if so, how are you addressing that?
The shortest answer is yes. We do experience this, but I have some things that I have noticed that I would love to share with you. I'm going to backtrack a little bit because we are younger people. I'm a younger person. I went to grad school for all of this classical music training, and at one point I really sat down and thought, how in the world am I going to these very long concerts that are very beautifully presented with amazing pianists or orchestral musicians or whatever, yet I am still falling asleep. Somehow there's a disconnect between what I see on stage and who I am as a person. Now, the reason I was going, or still go, I mean, I definitely support all of our arts as much as I can, but it's because of my education. You know, I need to be aware of the repertoire. I want to know who's current as an artist. I want to feel inspired on my own. And so there are aspects that I really do love about classical music, but still I found myself just not totally engaged. So in talking with various friends and kind of assessing music on my own, I realized that one thing that I would enjoy is if there were classical music concerts presented in places that I would go to, say a bar or an art gallery or a library. That would be one, changing up the venue. And then number two, why are classical music concerts so long? Right?
Right.
I think this day and age, we are very busy people. We run around. We have so many errands to run. We have jobs to do. We have families to take care of. We have friends to be invested in. And then what about ourselves? You know, so like, how can we still let classical music exist in a world that we are so oversaturated? And timing is all about that, right? Why can't a classical music stand alone as an hour long? It totally can. And so those are the main aspects that we have really tried to hone in and allow people to experience a very quick, intimate, non-distant experience. And I think that really has cultivated a community. So that's number one. When I think about young professionals, communities that turn just instead of young audiences, you know.
Sure.
When I think about young professionals, I think it's the same thing that we are really desperate in trying to like take care of ourselves. That also means finding a community. And so right now, what we are really trying to do with our language, how we relate to our patrons, how we relate to our audiences, is to use that word community so that people aren't so deterred from it. I think that's one thing that might be lacking in a bigger, extravagant concert experience is that you go, you sit, you're by yourself. You don't really talk to people. You're not even supposed to open up your program because it's going to make a noise, that kind of thing. So we definitely promote, like, come as you are. It doesn't matter. There's no fee to our concerts. So, like, even if you're feeling kind of a pinch on your budget, show up anyway if you want to have some time to just relax and enjoy. Or talk to your neighbor because they're right next door. Or talk to the artist because they're right in front of you. And I think that really is unique to the classical experience. A way to really magnify the young professional aspect, I think, would be to try to get younger artists, local artists. They bring their network, their friends. Something interesting in our programming that I have noticed over the last few seasons is that the younger demographic really holds to the new music concerts. So there was one year that we had a themed concert. Actually, so they pull towards the new music, yes, and they also pull towards to themes. Something that's like social awareness, topic, those things, if we can like pair music with topics like that, social justice things, young professionals really pull towards that. I think we're in a day and an age where our voices, we're realizing, are really strong, and we want to be able to present that in a way that's really impactful, not just for our audience, but also for us.
I think that's really actually incredibly interesting. Sorry, not to cut you off, but just to add to that, I don't see a lot of arts organizations really pulling in like other things from other parts of life that are not arts related, to kind of engage these younger audiences or more socially conscious audiences even. I have not heard of anybody else really doing that. And it's such a brilliant idea that I feel the need to really call that out and say, hey, this is brilliant, because the one unifying thing, because people have a billion different opinions. It's not like millennials or younger audiences or young professionals are some monolithic group. They're not. They have a billion different opinions, different viewpoints and world perspectives, but a unifying factor seems to be that a lot of younger audiences, younger professionals, they want their work and their life and the things that they spend time on to mean something. So kind of incorporating these different parts of life into art is not only really an effective strategy, I would think, but also something that they used to do. These classical art forms were not created in a vacuum. The repertoire wasn't created in a vacuum. A lot of it did deal with political and social issues of the day, but we've lost that in just recreating these forms over time where the context is gone. So I just wanted to take a minute and tell you that I think you are seriously brilliant for that approach. Off my soapbox, proceed.
I totally agree with you. And so some things that we've done to really cater towards that is one of our concerts a few seasons ago just happened to be on March 8th, which is International Women's Day. So I was like, well, we're definitely going to do something with this. So we had a female pianist, and we commissioned one new work and then also presented other new works, all by female composers. Another concert that we did was intentionally to bridge cultural gaps between the United States and Poland. So we worked with composers, 2 from the States and then 3 from abroad, and commissioned work from them. And then this season, I'm really excited about this. We are presenting a solo pianist who's presenting a concert called Negro Melodies. And oh my gosh.
It happens.
Yeah. I'm so embarrassed.
No, don't be. Listen, there's a lot of information to keep straight. It's so easy to blank on something when you've got a million terms and titles and things rolling around in your brain. So don't worry about it. We can actually add it in later. So if you wanna like double check the actual title or whatever and send it to me, I'll make a little caption for the video.
Yeah, that'd be great. So I will do that to you.
Sure.
I think it's Negro Melodies America, but I will also send that to you so that you can have it in there.
Sure.
Yes, for sure. So I think it's really important as an artistic director to be aware of social issues, politics, not necessarily to have an agenda, but to just have a conversation about it. Because, as you said, music is not in a vacuum. I love that phrase. And it's our job to really present it in a way that's so relevant. And when we present music that was written in 1700, that's not relevant. But if we can say, all right, well, I'll use 1942, for example. Okay, so 1942, this piece was written in that year, but also was the same year that World War II broke out. So, I mean, there's still that happening today. And I think, honestly, contemporary music, it still has its place. It might not be orally very easy to listen to. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But at least it has that relative current day awareness of what's going on.
Right. I totally agree with that. Like I said, brilliant approach to that. My next question, I may rephrase this a little bit, but I had it as, what do you think arts nonprofits should be doing to either shake up what they're presenting or to or to present traditional works in a new, engaging way. You kind of answered that with what you're doing. So let me slightly change that question to say, do you think that the approach Salon 21 is taking is something that other arts organizations, whether they're music or not, could replicate?
Oh, definitely. What we do in Salon 21 as board members and as volunteers is meeting with our audience members, getting them their perspective. What are we doing well? What are we needing to improve upon? And then doing it. Anybody can do that, you know? Right. And I think the most important thing that we do is not only talk to our biggest donors, but we talk to our most loyal patrons. We talk to new faces that we've never seen before. And I think that really is grounded in the personal aspect of it too. Like, it's definitely a community that people feel valued, and their opinions are really valued. And anybody can do that. So yeah.
I think that's really important. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you got me.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that that's really, really important. You know, on the for-profit side of things, you see companies doing market research where they validate ideas for products or services with their market. And that's how they know it's going to work. That's how they know it's worthy of investing time into that. Now, not to denigrate small or new nonprofits whatsoever, but it's one of the things that I don't see often enough. A lot of times when I start working with new clients, or I've got a smaller nonprofit, they aren't really talking to patrons, the people that are actually going to come to these concerts or have come to concerts, to talk to them about, like, well, what drew you here? What do you want to see? What kinds of things could we program that you are going to look at that and say, yes, I have to show up at that? And again, that's not to denigrate smaller nonprofits. I think a lot of that comes down to time and staff available to do that kind of legwork. So I'm not upset with them about it, but I think if it is something that you can pull off, then it should be a top priority, because what you're talking about is exactly how you create programming that pulls people in, that is attractive to funders, and that is sustainable over the years, because you're giving people what they want, while still helping with whatever outcomes that program is intended to create. So anyway, again, my little soapbox, sorry about that, but I wanted to say that I think that that's really great. I don't see enough of it.
Yeah, and it comes back to relevance. Classical music is not relevant, but this is how you make it relevant. You make it personal. You relate to your audience. And maybe something else that we haven't really talked about is having the courage to explore the market that you aren't reaching yet. Because if we only cater to one bit demographic or whatever, then there's like so much lost beyond that. And if anybody has the courage to really explore what else is missing, then that opens the door for so much more creativity and opportunities. And I think it invigorates the people who run it.
Yes.
Right? It invigorates the people who are immediately directly involved in the organization to realize, oh, there's so many other things that we really could take advantage of, or people that we really could ask and invite or talk with, or whatever. So being courageous to explore what's being missed, I guess.
Right. Okay, so my next question might be a little bit risky, but stick with me. So we've talked about incorporating the opinions and the feedback of donors and patrons, but on the side of instituting these new approaches to repertoire, to concerts, to art forms in general, you know, your board has to be on board with that in order to implement it. And at the risk of generalizing, a lot of nonprofits are really trying to rope in younger audiences, trying to incorporate new approaches to things, you know, just like you were talking about, while the board itself a lot of times it tends to be there, or most of them tend to be there because they're older and they like that tradition and they like that traditional approach. And so getting on the same page when you want to try new things can be really difficult. So how do you get your board members to support new approaches like that? And do you think there's a challenge in getting board members to support new ways of presenting concerts and repertoire?
I can only speak from my experience with Salon 21, and I feel extremely fortunate because all of our board members are young professionals, and they're extraordinarily supportive of anything that I come up with, and they offer many, many viewpoints and ideas on how to grow and push the boundaries. And I'm really lucky because I know that not all organizations are like that. I would say if there were an organization or a member of a board who was watching this today, I would suggest that it's the same principle of looking at what's missing, and don't be afraid to invite people who you realize need to be there. So if you're looking for younger audience members or a younger voice, invite not just one person, but like a handful of people, and then actually listen to them. Or if you're looking for somebody who's older and wiser and has like a much more a broader view on what business is or whatever, invite a handful of them, come to the board meeting and listen to them.
Right.
So I think just like if you are able to have different perspectives in the room at a board meeting, that's really important. But again, I have not experienced board members to reject any idea that I have.
Sure. That sounds like you're really, really lucky. I will say that the Salon 21 board must be amazing. And that's not to dog on board members at all, because a lot of board members are there because they're passionate about what the organization does. I wouldn't say that it's because there's some kind of crazy obstacle to surmount. It's more just sometimes getting different groups of people who all need to agree on the same page is always a challenge. That's the only reason I bring it up before I get angry emails from board members. I love you guys. I do. I'm just talking about getting everybody on the same page.
Yeah.
Well, you have had a ton of good ideas and good insights, I think, into how to take some non-traditional approaches to traditional art forms and repertoire. So I really appreciate that. On a more general note, before we wrap up, what are some of the biggest issues that you see facing the nonprofit arts world today? And this can be related to our topic, or it can be totally not related in any way.
Yeah. One thing that comes up is competition. I know that there are so many young arts organizations trying to do similar things that I'm doing. So that can be a struggle sometimes to find the value within your specific arts organization. Why do you exist? What's your mission? What's your vision? Is it the exact same with somebody who's right next door? Maybe, but if not, then how can you, or if it is, how can you find it different? That can be a challenge for sure. If there is support for nonprofit, it seems to be more related to science and technology rather than art and culture. And so the funding aspect is really important and intimidating to know that sometimes we will be overshadowed by science and technology.
Right.
So that's something that I think is a big issue, and I don't have an answer to using it. I feel like we would all be saved, Worker burnout is a big issue. I can imagine. Yeah. I certainly feel it, but I care desperately about what we're doing with Salon 21. Even when I was in grad school and taking classes, my professors commented on this is a real thing. There's a really high turnover rate in nonprofits, and I imagine that has to do with few hands, many hats, and not as much funding is needed.
It does.
So there's a lot of and creativity, if you're like trying to be really creative with how to stretch your budget or whatever, then that can kind of lend itself to some creative burnout also.
Absolutely. I'd be lying if I didn't say that part of me deciding to start a consultancy instead of staying as a staff member in the nonprofit world, I'd be lying if I said burnout didn't play a role in that. So yeah. I get it.
Yeah. And then maybe another issue could be with any kind of arts world, like how do we revamp or refresh or update such an old tradition? Some people are doing really amazing things, and I am really inspired by their work. So I know that there are organizations that are really trying to take care of that tradition and really uphold it and then revamp it at the same time. So we're working. People are working.
They are, and it's so great to hear all of the amazing things that Salon 21 is doing. They are incredibly lucky to have you. You're well-spoken, articulate, you have great ideas just for your organization, and clearly you're kind enough and generous enough to share those ideas with others on a medium like this. So thank you from all of us. I think that is so important. I appreciate your time here.
Of course, thank you very much.
Oh, no problem at all. And if anybody is listening to this and heard Jill talk about any of these other challenges that she feels is facing the industry and the arts world in general, and if you have something to say about that, please get in touch with me. I will put contact information at the end of this video because I would love to talk to you too. In fact, I would love to talk to any arts or culture nonprofit professionals about the challenges and the issues that you see facing the work that you do today. Because it's one thing to hear from a consultant about it, but we should be hearing from the people that are in the trenches doing the work and what is working for them, what is not working, so that we can find solutions that better work for all of you and all of us because we're in it together. So I will put some information at the end of this video about contacting me, but I will also put some information about finding out more about Salon 21, about its suite of concerts that are just getting kicked off here in the coming weeks ahead. And if you are in the area, I highly recommend checking out Salon 21 and getting to know Jill if you have a chance at all. She's fabulous. And I think that is it for our second episode of Program Notes. Thank you, everyone.